Hi, Josh Allen, companion bread guy. Miller's 5 grain. We've been making Miller's 5 grain since 1993. One of our most popular breads in the grocery store. Organic whole grain, whole wheat, whole rye, beautiful grains, and also some sunflower seeds. Beautiful toast, great table bread. Also the great basis of a savory bread pudding. So today we're going to make butternut squash and apple bread pudding. Beautiful side dish with any kind of roasted meats, chicken, pork, anything like that. Also, actually as a vegetarian entree with a nice little salad next to it, makes a great dish. So we're going to do it, very easy. I happen to know the baker and he was happy to slice the loaf for me. You can certainly ask your favorite baker to slice your loaf or your favorite bakery manager inside of a grocery store, and usually they'll do it. So I've got a 9 by 13 casserole dish. I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of oil, and I'm going to use the first piece of bread here to kind of mop that around and just get our sides nice and moist so that this whole dish doesn't stick. I'm not going to break these up into little cubes. We're actually going to leave it whole, and we're just going to layer this dish all throughout this whole thing. So if you have to tear a loaf a little, tear a piece to make it fit, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to layer the bread, and we're going to layer some Granny Smith apple. Any kind of fall apple variety will work really well. This is really very, very simple. We're just going to do, ends up being usually about 3 layers to fill this casserole dish. No rhyme or reason, doesn't have to be done perfect. So we've got the last of our apples here going on top. We've got a whole 1.5 pound loaf of Miller's 5 grain. If you don't happen to like multi-grain breads, any 1.5 pounds of your favorite bread sliced will work brilliantly. Ciabatta, our pan bocare works really nice. You can even do rye if you want something a little bit heartier. But we're just going to layer it and layer it with the apples. We're going to set that aside. That was the easy part. And now we're going to go to our custard. So the custard is just the filling made with a little bit of eggs, milk, cream, and we're going to start in the processor. So I roasted a butternut squash, split it in half, olive oil, salt, and pepper, cut side down on a sheet pan for about 50 minutes, 45-50 minutes at 350 degrees, and it just gets nice and soft. And we're going to just scoop out the center of our butternut squash right into our food processor. For the sake of keeping this process moving, I will not perfectly clean the inside, but once it's roasted, it's really easy to get it all out. Set that aside. And into this particular mix, we're going to add 4 eggs. We're going to add a little bit of Italian parsley, sage, and thyme. I've got some rough chopped garlic, so a couple cloves of garlic just chopped roughly just to kind of start the process, but obviously it's going to blend nicely in here as well. I've got pepper, and I've got salt, and then I've got Gruyere cheese. I've got a cup of Gruyere cheese. We're actually going to keep half of it to put on top, and we're going to put half of it inside of our custard. So I've got that in there, and then we're going to quickly process this. So we've got a nice consistency on all of these ingredients. We're going to add those to a bowl. I will tell you that I tried to add my milk and my cream to my processor when I did a little test batch on this, and it went all over the place. So this recipe is just a hair more than the whole thing can handle, which is why I'm going to blend them separately. So I've got all these ingredients out of the processor into a bowl. I'm going to add a pint of heavy cream, and I'm going to add 3 cups of milk. Once you've got everything together, this is really quite simple and really easy to do. Take a whisk. We're going to blend all this together. It should be nice and wet and nice and loose because that bread is going to really absorb all of this moisture over time. The recipe says you can let it sit for 20 or 30 minutes. I actually like to do it and let it sit overnight. It really does a much better job of setting up. But at a minimum, you want to make sure you get 20 or 30 minutes. It should not going into the oven loose and spilling all over the place. So once you get a nice blend on that, we're actually just going to pour it over our casserole. You kind of want to pour it in the center. Pour it slowly. I have tested this to tell you that it will fit into a 9 by 13 pan. It'll all kind of rise up a little bit. Get the last of your seasonings out. Now the fun part, you're going to have to get a little bit dirty. We need to soak it down and make sure that we get all that moisture in all those slices of bread. So we're going to want to make sure that we press it Make sure it runs over the top. Kind of press it all in. So you can see how wet it is. This is, again, not how it's going to go in the oven. It's going to really want to sit for 20 or 30 minutes at a minimum, and ideally it's going to sit overnight. Let all this soak nicely. We're going to take the remainder of our cheese. So we've got the Gruyere. We're going to sprinkle it over the top. Right over the top, cover it with foil, and then we're going to let it sit. So again, 30 minutes or overnight if you can, and we're going to whack it in a 350-degree oven for about an hour covered. After an hour, it'll have set up nicely. It'll still jiggle a little bit, possibly in the middle. Turn it up to broil in your oven, and you're going to let it go for another 10 minutes so that you get the cheese melted nicely and you get all the crispies. And when you're done, you go from this to this absolutely gorgeous bread pudding. So I'm going to take a spoon here. You got nice moisture in there. Just tear a little piece off. And this makes a great side to any kind of roasted meats, or again, just a little bit of salad and a nice vegetarian option. Oh, it's delicious. Sweet, a little bit from the garlic. Really, really, really nice dish, and a great way to use up our Miller's 5 grain. So that is our apple and butternut squash savory bread pudding. Enjoy the fall and enjoy the recipe. Thank you.